IIT Mumbai. He's from Harvard Business School. He's worked with McKinsey for 34 years. Our Secretary General, who was supposed to be here, but unfortunately was called for an urgent meeting with Ministry, he could not come here. He is Dr. R.P. Singh, who is also EPSI founder member. And he is a through and through educationist. This is the structure of Quality Council of India. Under Quality Council of India, there are 5 verticals, which we call them as boards. NABH is a board which looks after the hospital and healthcare accreditation. NABL accredits all labs across India. And NABET is a National Accreditation Board for Education and Training, which assess and accredits schools across India. We are currently working with K-12 segment, but soon we'll venture into pre-primary and higher education. Under NABET, there is a vertical called FEED, which is a Formal Education Excellence Division. These are the various activities we undertake or we are undertaking. The first one is we have been accrediting school for the past 14 years. We have started assessing and accrediting schools starting from 2007. We also conduct a lot of online and offline workshops on these areas like competency-based teaching, learning, implementation of Nippon, what are quality parameters, what are the areas where a school should assess themselves, etc. So we've been conducting these workshops for the past 14 years. And earlier they were offline, but now we are conducting online and offline workshops. All pedagogy workshops are aligned with NEP 2020. We have our website where you can get into and see what all workshops we conduct and what is the schedule of those workshops. We also conduct certain equality intervention projects. There are so many government schools where there are commissions, councils like NDMC, MCGM or PCMC, where they want us to assess their school on customized parameters, customized framework. The NABET accreditation framework, which we have created on which we conduct or assess the schools, is a very holistic framework, which carries a lot of parameters, which government school cannot fulfill. So hence, government authorities or commissions or councils, they request us to create or customize their framework and then assess the schools. We have done the assessment of NDMC schools only to measure the quality intervention, that is only to measure the learning outcome, how the learning outcome of a child is getting improved year after year. We also have assessed government schools of under Delhi government and private schools where they wanted us to assess on safety security parameters along with learning outcome parameters. We also take up a lot of studies with NCPCR and DCPCR where we conduct studies on their behalf on impact of certain policies, and we give them recommendations. Based on those recommendations, they give their inputs to government where the policy decision maker make the changes in the policies. So these are the certain projects we have conducted. NDMC I've already spoken to. I've already talked about it. NDMC is New Delhi Municipal Corporation. There are 45 schools under this commission. And we have signed an MOU with them for 5 years where we are improving the learning outcome of the students by giving importance on teaching learning processes, by giving intervention on teaching learning process, and hence we have seen it improving year after year. We have done Delhi government schools, municipal of Greater Mumbai schools. Third party evaluation, we conduct a lot of impact study for Ministry of Education also. So we work with a lot of government schools like Jhunjhunu and Sikar where we conduct the studies. We worked with Odisha government, or we are working with Odisha government where we have assessed the hostels which are attached to the schools on certain parameters, customized parameters. We have given the training to teachers of those schools. Around 10,000 teachers got trained on blended learning technology of Odisha SC, and ST department. With the advent of new education policy, we all know the focus of new education policy is assessment and accreditation and quality parameters and teacher development. So in both the areas, we are already working. In the first area, the NEP 2020 is talking about the quality self-regulation or self-assessment. We have been conducting assessment for the past 14 years, and we know how a school gets assessed. There are so many schools in Tamil Nadu which are under NABET accreditation, and they've been seeing the value of NABET accreditation. And we are also participating in a lot of roundtable conferences with CBSE or state government, where under new education policy, a lot of frameworks are getting created, and we play a very active role in that. As far as teacher development is concerned, we are conducting a lot of training, but we have also gone a step ahead and created a framework for teachers to assess themselves on pedagogy, etc. A lot of schools in Middle East, in Muscat, they have called us, invited us to assess their teachers, and we have assessed them on parameters. We have a very nice system where we have created a framework where teachers assess themselves first, and then we assess them and tell them where the gap is. New NABET accreditation or NABET system works on a very facilitative mode. We do not, since we are neither regulatory body or a statutory body, we work on a very friendly mode of getting into the school or getting in touch with the teachers to tell them where the gaps are. First, we tell them how to assess, then we tell them where the gaps are and how to plug those gaps. Idea is to tell them the issues and then create action plan so that the gaps can be plugged in. This was the NABET accreditation I was talking about, which is a very, very holistically developed framework. We have researched all the frameworks across the globe and then created the framework. This is again, it's a maturity model framework where any school applies for NABET accreditation has to score a certain value, a threshold value, which every school unfortunately cannot immediately get it, but we can start with it. So it has a value system under which the school gets certain actions, they can take action and apply for NABET accreditation. But since it was a little on a higher side, so schools, they approached us saying that why not we start a grading system instead of NABET accreditation, because NABET accreditation is on the higher side. So why not start a grading where every school will get a chance to assess themselves and then see where do they stand and then come for NABET accreditation. So we started with the grading system where every school can apply to our system. They will have to do a self-assessment. We will give them a full capacity building workshop on how to assess themselves, what each indicator means. It is going to be virtually as well as physically. Once the school has done the assessment, we can conduct assessment physical or virtual or evidence-based, and then grant them accreditation star 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. So basis on their journey from star 1 to 5, in between, if a school thinks that they are fit for NABET accreditation, they can apply for NABET accreditation and get it. So this is the new system which is going to get launched today. We will do it in the evening. But this is where our NABET's new initiative is now heading to. This is what I was talking about, that star 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 schools will get. This is again not a finger pointing exercise. A star 1 school can be good at certain points, may not be good at certain points. But we will, when a school applies for grading, we will tell them how to go to the next level to get grade. So this is all about the NABET activities. The time is short. We are running behind the schedule, so I will not take much time. But in case you want to interact with me and my team are available during the lunchtime or during the session throughout the day. You're most welcome to come and talk to us and understand what grading is all about. So thank you so much. Yeah, if anybody has any question, I will take it right now. Any questions, anyone? Yes, sir.
Could you give me a rough idea as to how many schools have applied for accreditation with the
We have till now, because it's a voluntary accreditation, so around 200 schools have applied for NABET accreditation. But for assessment and evaluation, we have assessed around 6,000 schools. As I said, the focus of government schools is, see, percentage of private schools is only 10%. And rest of them are all government schools. NABET accreditation will take time, or schools will take time to come to the NABET accreditation. Hence, the grading was launched. Now, government schools can apply and get into NABET accreditation journeys.
Yeah. What is the approximate cost like? Say, for example, a school wants to apply for it. How much is the financial implication?
So that depends on the strength of the school. If there is a proper worksheet which is on the website, we'll share the link with you, sir. It is not much, sir. We are a government organization. We are an autonomous body of government organization. So we are not here for profit making. We only incur whatever expenses we incur. We do that. We charge that to school, and 10% of the margin we take.
Yeah. Madhu, I have a question here.
Yes, sir.
All my 5 schools have been registered in the
yes, sir.
month of July.
Yes, sir.
Could we participate in this particular?
Absolutely right, sir. You can, sir. Yes, sir. Sorry, ma'am, I didn't get it.
For the assessment, do we have time?
Yes, ma'am. You have time for assessment, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Typically, when a school applies for NABET accreditation, it takes 3 to 6 months for any schools to become proficient with the NABET accreditation process and get NABET accreditation. So, any questions? So, I think I'll call Geetika. Otherwise, if anybody has any questions, they can come to me anytime.
Thank you so much, Madhu ma'am, for taking us through the scope of NABET QCI and what all we do in education domain. Now, I would like to request to Mr. P.R. Mehta, sir. He is an architect by profession, former president of Council of Architecture, presently director of BIMTECH-Birla, and members in various professional organizations to take the session ahead, which is on national and international practices of school accreditation. This session is going to be filled with eminent educationists, and the educationists who are present with us here today is Dr. P. Ravi. Dr. P. Ravi holds an honorary doctorate in the field of education. He has over 34 years of experience in education and has worked as a teacher, principal, deputy director, and regional director at NIOS and strategic academic advisor. I would request sir to please come on the dais. Dr. Bhavani Shankar. He's a dedicated educator who works with groups involved in academic research, post-secondary education, and K-12 education. He has been a major success in managing educational institutions for over 2 decades. Please welcome, sir, on the dais. Colonel Kanwar Pratap Singh, sir. He is the founder, chairman of CCA School. He was also associated with industry fraternity for over a decade as the vice chairman of Quality Circle Forum of India, Delhi chapter. He's a specialist in motivation, career counseling, personality development. We welcome you, sir. I welcome Dr. Sheila Raghavan. She began her career as a French teacher and has over 28 years of experience in the field of education. She was also vice principal of academics, where she actively worked and got involved in the areas of syllabus education, curriculum preparation, leading to holistic development. She is presently advisor of Darwin Public School. We welcome you here, ma'am. We have also with us Dr. B. Purushothaman. He is chairman and senior principal of Evergreen Group of Schools. He had a quench for knowledge and learning. He always aspired to become a teacher since childhood. He set up a coaching center and then later established an evergreen group of schools. Now I would request PR Mehta sir to please take over the session, sir. We'll be giving you mic, sir. Can we have mic, please?
Thank you and welcome all the delegates to this interactive session which we have planned. The tone for the discussion for the day has already been set in the morning session. Madhuji has given you a complete roundup of what exactly that can be done. NEP is in front of us and we are looking forward to how we could inculcate the concept of quality at school level, at the formative levels of learning by a student. NEP deals with the structuring of accreditation, as Dr. Vishwanathan had said in the morning. For quite many years, we have been dealing with university education's accreditation through NAAC or National Board of Accreditation at AICT dealing with technical education. But school education is something which has not been attended to in the process of accreditation. And as he said rightly, that in PISA, we are nowhere. So I think the time is there now that we take some initiative, some direction. Task is gigantic. We know over 15 lakh schools. But let me take this opportunity with the eminent personalities on the dais as to how do we go about it. You see, do we need a structure? NEP doesn't talk about any structure. NBA, NAAC, whatever, they've put some structure in place. We know the success rate, they are far behind. We are still not very close to the number of schools or the programs or the universities that we have. But school is a different ballgame. Concurrent subject it is, as Dr. Vishwanathan said. I think everybody needs to contribute, the state and the center. Higher education, it has been only the initiative by the central government under the constitution, setting up of the standards. But school education has its own history in the country at the state level, even before that, before the formation of the country. It has been there. So we need to structure it. We need to have a track defined for it, that how do we achieve our goal in the quickest possible time, be it 10 years, 15 years, or 2 years, or why not self-audit? Why not do it by ourselves? Why not understand the subject as an international requirement, but in global or the local context? So with that background, let me start the discussion and let me first go to Dr. Ravi. We all know he has been a pioneer in open school education, education for all, has been the mission in which he had been involved. So let me try and understand that what kind of context, what kind of structure you would think we should adopt to achieve our goal of accreditation and quality education.
Namaste. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be a part of. Namaste. Thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this wonderful gathering. Becoming conscious about the quality. And in our inaugural session, we had a great insight, especially from our Vishwanathan-ji, keeping us ahead with us that all the challenges which we are facing it. So today, in the light of the NEP 2020, almost 2 years we are nearing. But still, it's a time for us to seriously think about the quality. Rather, I must say now, India is moving from the quantity to quality now. We were able to achieve the gross enrollment in the schools in a very considerable level. A lot of data says both government sector and the private sectors are successful in enrolling the children. The next challenge comes the quality part of it. Quality is not an accident. I think you all know. It's a very careful choice of many alternatives. Then we take a decision consciously. Yes, I must include these are the things in my day-to-day life to climb to the next level of quality. I mean, the school systems are going on for a long time. I don't know whether it's knowingly or unknowingly. We are just following a system. Sometimes we don't even do some basic research to make what exactly is happening. Are we doing the real, the purpose for which that the school has been created? Are we bringing the outcomes, or whether it is really in tune with the national level goal? All those things at the grassroots level, we don't even think. I must, when he is asked to address which are the areas where we have to now, first we start with that. School, when we say that, immediately comes to us as the scholastic activities, mainly for the transfer of knowledge or teaching or whatever the terminology we use it. Immediately we think that this is a place for, making the children to acquire a certain set of knowledge and that be a part of their nation building, or even to be a successful individual in this country. Or globally, now we have to think. There itself, first the question comes to us that, are we maintaining a certain set of standard? This is where the quality control of India and NABERD is coming into the place. And since I had a very long innings in the government sector, I know the limitations. Going beyond the set of rules is always a big challenge. And this is a message for our private schools, how fortunate you are all to take a bold step. That's what I wanted to do. When I was a principal of 𝗩𝗲𝗃𝗲 I was there in 𝗪𝗃𝗏 in Maharashtra. And I came to Shimoga. I found government has provided wonderful facilities that where are we now actually? Why we are not able to compete or move to the next level in the quality of the education what we can provide? That time I had a chance to my school to participate in BJs. In Pune, from Pune they were those days 2005. They were trying to assess the schools or giving an opportunity to introspect ourselves that where are we now? They gave some 256 questions. When I started answering those questions, not even 10% that I could meet. And suddenly, I was asking my vice principal, sir, this is not for government schools, sir, we can't think about it. I said, you just narrow down some of the points, you will come to know that it's possible. And I had a meeting with the staff, teachers. There are 4 components were there. One is our pedagogical process in the school, that is teaching learning process. That's a basic foundation of our school. There we found that, is it a big infrastructure is required? It's only an attitude has to be changed. There, that questions which you are asking us to to work on that immediately gave us a chance. Yes, I can fill up these components if there is a will from all the teachers. That was the first step. And second, they asked about the infrastructure, where, government schools, Vishwanathanji was telling that a postgraduate student was sitting on the floor. Such a pathetic condition sometimes. Then we thought, okay, this we will not be able to do anything, but we will be able to compensate that by providing the quality transaction in the classroom. So we were very seriously taken that point. Then came the institution building. How are you projecting your institution in this locality? Standard which you have. There are a lot of questions.
Very interesting. What you have said is attitude,
Yes.
and second is quality.
Yes.
So I think we'll stop here. And
Yes, sir.
we,
Sure.
Talk to Dr. Bhavani Shankar, and we can get back to you.
Yes, thank you.
Later. Professor Shankar, now, how do you see that? This is a gigantic task. See, is this the method? We pick up some key points, or we look at the conventional way? What could be the possible method of achieving our target?
Okay. So once again, thank you, and Professor Vishwanathan and Dr. Jayanti, they set the tempo. So the message was loud and clear. So access, equity, opportunity on one side. And to also understand that we are a part of a large game and highly insignificant when it comes to, say, how we are shaping the environment around. So these were the messages. And Dr. Ravi here also added up. I would say we start from us, implode, be the change you want to be. So the seed of change needs to come from every single organization.
Absolutely. I think each one has to contribute.
Absolutely, sir. And most importantly, this reality is contextual, and that contextual reality has also been exposed, saying that, hey, the reality for the government school is different, and the reality for private schools are different. And even amongst the private schools, there are the divides of the haves and have-nots. So I would say, with respect to change, please recognize what is real within the framework of how you operate, and from that point, seed the change which is possible within the organization, baby steps. And it would set the tempo for the rest of us to follow.
So you say it has to come from within, each one has to contribute, every organization has to become a positive. Great. Sheilaji, I think I would come to you now. You know the task. 15 lakh schools, you have been an assessor yourself. You have been trying to inculcate the issue of quality in teachers, in trainers, and also in assessors. So then looking at a larger picture as to how they would perform in schools. So many schools, so many government schools, almost the ratio is 4:1. And the student enrollment is reversed, 1:4. You see, large number of government schools, but less enrollment, less number of private schools, but almost taking 80% of the enrollment. What should be our approach for accreditation?
Thank you, sir. And since morning, we've been listening to a lot of talk on quality. You're right, be it in private school or a government school. What I would like to stress on is, our focus is the same. See, when we are using the word education, to me, it is an experience. It is something that the child goes through a long period. Are we clear about it? Or are we looking at literacy? I feel that is where the difference comes. So when we are looking at the word education, we are preparing our children for future. Are we making them thinkers? In whichever context they study, that doesn't matter, whether it's a private school or a government school. With no disrespect to any group, I think private schools, I've also been a part of private schools, I still am. We are forced to do a few things to sustain. Government schools, that demand is not there. But all of us are talking about education. So if we have one focus where we say the experience in terms of not just teaching learning, the learning experience or the learning environment that the child goes into and comes out, spends almost 7 hours a day there, is conducive for the child in terms of infrastructure, in terms of, the basic facilities that a child gets. Somewhere we will lead finally to an educated community. Somewhere all of us are just saying schools means the teaching learning process. No. You can be the best of teachers, but in an environment where the child is not able to focus on what the teacher says, learning may not happen.
Great. So you make a point that we need an environment conducive to learning. You may have great teachers, great infrastructure, but it's the overall ambience, the ecosystem in a school that matters, and that shapes a man in times to come, and that would make him think. Very, very interesting. Colonel Saab, to you now. What do we do? What kind of agencies? You see, if it has to come from within, as Mr. Bhavani Shankar says, Sheilaji says, no, we have to build thinkers. We have to build an ecosystem where learning becomes a natural process rather than focused on one aspect or the other. And attitude is what Raviji says. Then how do we do accreditation, or do we find something else to achieve?
Well,
this?
good morning, everyone. I think it's a sum total of everything. Education is just not books. I personally feel that lots of activities and cultural activities, sports, etc., all that happens. Those challenges need to be given to the children. Basically, for a school to improve, there has to be a mindset right from top to each child. Everybody has to be in a competitive state with a will to excel and improve. I was with Quality Circle Forum of India, and from there we had taken up a few things, words like Kaizen and 5S. The Kaizen is something that means for each and every activity, every person in the school, every teacher should be a thinking person, thinking school, and to find how to improve each and every day. We've been having, like, I'll give you, quoting my example of my own school. Initially, 3 to 4 students used to score very high marks. The people who were lagging behind were far below. So one of the USPs that I made was, I said, I want the class averages to move up. And yes, it made a difference because each teacher, each child started thinking that the results have to go up. We reached a level of 90.6% as the class average in class 12 board exams, based on which the school was ranked amongst the top 100 schools of India. The question is, and this is not just academics, because when the teachers used to come very often, okay, sir, the activities are too many. All types of variety of activities, right from kindergarten to upwards, these activities were there. So there was exuberance in the institute where everybody was, every day there was something new, something challenging, and they used to be happy. And when the children are happy, well, they perform well. So, and there are a few other points that I just jotted down. First, of course, about the accreditation. Well, I'd only heard and attended many seminars and workshops for colleges and universities accreditation. There were none for the school. As far as the schools were concerned, there were certain private agencies earlier. Like once Hindustan Times had started ranking schools city-wise. There were some other magazines, they were doing it. But I was not happy with them because partly they were commercial, they were not transparent. If somebody played the ball with them, they would be ranked higher, and that sort of thing was happening. But definitely, there is an absolute dire need that the standards have to be raised. And as ma'am was mentioning today, one of them, who said that we have a composite, customized points, customized method or parameters for certain government schools. So looking at it, this canvas of 15 lakh schools is very, very large. And that's why I asked the question, how many schools have sought accreditation so far? It is 200. It doesn't come to 0.001% also. But yes, there are pockets of excellence. In many private schools, they've been doing well. Some government schools are also doing well, but by and large, the performance level is low. And we need to work out, like CBSE has done it, they've created certain hubs of institutions. They've combined about 4 to 5 schools to get together and learn from each other. And make our own good practices, share them as much as possible. And this works. And earlier, there used to be jealousy amongst neighboring schools. But now a state has come, which I have seen, particularly in Gurgaon, Haryana, as he mentioned, that we are almost third as far as the education is concerned. Children and schools are striving for competition to improve and do better than each other, and the good practices are being shared. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think you make 2-3 points together. One is wholesome experience, all-round development, possibilities of all-round development, collaborative effort amongst institutions, be it competitive or be it healthy participation, learning from each other. Great, absolutely. Purushottamji, now it's your turn. Tell us, should we have all these parameters what have been referred, or there are few which could be good enough an indicator as to what's happening in the school and what needs to be done?
Thank you, sir. I express my sincere thanks to everyone here, more so to EPSI and my father figure, Viswanathanji, sir. We are operating basically in North Chennai. We have completed 3 decades of running schools. And very recently, we opened 3 schools, 2 of which were inaugurated by our Viswanathan, sir. And I told him very recently the Midas touch that he had. We have got in the last 3 years 5,000 students in the new schools inaugurated by Viswanathan sir. That is, we are very lucky. And I should also add before dealing with the question that very recently we had our 30th annual day celebrations, for which the Honorable CM Stalinji came. And half an hour prior to that, our Honorable School Education Minister came to our office, and I was discussing about all these things, particularly the recognition headache for Tamil Nadu schools. We normally, because this is the EPSI, which I have been also associated for the last 10 years, we had many meetings in Delhi, and we were fortunate to be with VIT's Chancellor Sarji. And I was telling him these 2 things, what Sir was asking, is it all about all these parameters or some parameters? I told him, please you take care of 2 things before giving the recognition or affiliation. One is infrastructure, the safe, comfortable infrastructure for schools. Number 2, quality teachers, the teachers with the experience, qualification, and real commitment. Leave rest of the things to private schools, because by doing this, you are creating a healthy competition when you concentrate also on government schools. When government schools are performing on a par with private schools, the so-called bad schools from your point of view will automatically be eliminated. There should be a healthy competition, I said. And coming to this,
when you talk about competition, the competition exists because the society, when takes a decision to send a particular student of their own child somewhere, they know the ranking by themselves. The society has its own methods. So
no,
competition is already there if one has to survive.
No.
So I don't think that is the issue. When you talk about government and non-government, let me say, not call them private, because objective of the society, aims of the constitution, they are one. As Sheilaji has said, education is education. It cannot distinguish, because it is this crop which will hold my future. It is this crop where the nation's future is. So how do you see this government, non-government?
Yes.
And the Delhi model, let me share with you, it is making the distinction blur between government school and private school. So we have a situation that if there is a will, there are ways and means. Resources may be limited, but what Sheilaji said, and I would like you to elaborate further on the experience. You see, the ambience to have that experience of learning and then taking it forward as a person who has learned how to learn. So why don't you elaborate something on that?
Let me complete this.
Okay.
By competition, I meant what Viswanathan sir also said. That nobody wants to go to government schools in Tamil Nadu. That the context is different. The very reason why our Chief Minister came to Delhi CM, visiting the Delhi schools, you can understand the scenario right here. By competition, I meant that the quality of education.
I understand. But You see, the spirit has to change. You see,
Yes,
at
exactly.
least I see as that each one has to perform. You
Yes.
see, we can't be looking at others. Maybe
Yes.
we take it as an inspiration, but what method? You see, that's why I
Yes,
thought you
yes,
would be
yes,
able to
yes, sir, yes,
contribute.
sir.
So
So over
maybe
to Sheila,
in
ma'am.
few words, if you can say, and then we can have one more round of
No.
opinions. Yes, please.
See, that's what I mean, answering the main question from you, sir. Actually, the parameters differs from school to school. For example, the location of the school is also very important. How the parents cooperate, whether the parents are educated. When you want to render quality education, the support from all quarters is also important, in addition to the teacher being very efficient. The location of the school where parents also should to be enlightened about the quality of education, other things. So the parameters, most of the parameters, like what neighbor.
Okay, let me interrupt you again.
Yes.
I'm not able to.
Yeah, welcome to, sir.
Do that. You see, enabling parameters, should they continue to be the benchmark, or should it move to should we move to outcome? You see, I'm encouraged to talk about the experience word you have used. We say, see, it is the outcome finally which will matter. How long can we talk about parameters? Teacher must be highly qualified, room must be good, classroom size should be that. But is that all? You see, enabling parameters are maybe enabling, but that is not education. Whether that is what will make a good ecosystem or ambience, or it is something else which will make a good ambience for learning. So that is the point, and I think
Yes, sir.
we need to debate
These
on
are
that.
basic parameters we are discussing. Now over to Sheila, ma'am.
Yeah. See, I think that is what we see. Those are enabling parameters, maybe essential to. Yes, I think that is what we need to look forward to, because we have spent all our time, particularly in higher education. Dr. Viswanathan made a very clear-cut point. Yeah, let me just say that enabling parameters became the measurement scale. Is that what is all? See, that's the question. So let Sheila ma'am, hold your question. Let us say something.
See, I think one of the things is the market forces, what we talk about. They know better. In fact, if any particular area, it is the children and the parents, they can make out which school is slightly better than the other. So this is, and what happens is, now when we look at is, when we do 360 degrees survey or a feedback, in that we try and find out as to what all are the children and parents wanting in a school. Then we list out about 8 to 10 items which are happening in a better school and not so good school. So that is the difference in comparison.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is societal parameters which are very dynamic in nature. They keep changing in terms of aspiration. And you see, that is what I'm saying. Let Sheila ji say something, and then maybe we can take some questions from audience.
So if
Sure.
you don't mind, I would like you to once again focus on your question, because too many things I heard, so I don't want to deviate on what I'm speaking.
Well, it is the experience. Would you elaborate on that?
When I used the word education is an experience, what I meant was it's not the degree that we leave an educational institution with. It is how do we conduct ourselves? How are we able to think on our feet and live our lives in a dynamic world? If we are able to do that, then we have educated a child. All of us say we are getting our children ready for life. We all have, I'm only going to take one aspect because there are so many things which function when we use the word education. It's a huge umbrella. Just one aspect, which troubles me a lot. So I would like to speak about this. We all have been having value education classes for years in our schools. We've been adding on to the number of classes that we have. We have been adding on to the number of aspects in terms of curriculum. But how are our children today? Earlier, there used to be a fight at home to pick up the Hindu in the morning and read. Today, I don't want to read it. I would like that to be the last task by default, because I need to know what's happening in this world. I still stick to the newspaper and not the television news. It is hurting. I've been supposed to have been in the field of education for almost 30 years. I always ask myself the question, what have I done? if we were educating our children in the true sense of the term, I'm very sure we will not be seeing children who are committing suicide. We will not be seeing children who are not capable of facing a normal situation. I've not got into a medical college. Is that a sin? That is what I'm referring to as an experience of education. So whatever we do in our schools, are we asking ourselves the question, why are we doing it? Or are we saying, I've added one more activity to my list to say I'm better than what I was the previous year? That is what I'm referring
Great,
to as experience, sir.
Great, thanks. Bhavani Shankarji, your turn. Do we have any international experience, anything to compare with, or we develop our own?
See, now we go about and talk about healthy competition. See, we also look at ourselves as a big global family. So the basic philosophy of 𝗤𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, which says that one world is a family, does not exclude anybody from outside of India. They are also a part of it. So I would say here we are looking to elaborate networks and every opportunity to learn. So with the boundaries breached, the entire world becoming, say, just in front of your Android, so, or all these opportunities expanding, I would say every single progressive experience that has been approached by any school anywhere, if it contextually fits, I can't ape Finland or I cannot ape something because, so it is a culture that might be different. But what fits to me? I would still say that the minute I become accountable, the minute I take ownership for what I do, and I understand the purpose of education is to bring forth capacity. I'm sorry, we will be digressing if we talk about the human capacity index and the number of students that we might have. Professor Vishwanathan will throw some more light. So every school says that my average goes up to 95%. So Colonel Ji also said that we moved the average to 90.6%. But then if all of us claim that we have made about 25 centums in mathematics, 50 centums in Tamil, 100 centums in social sciences, and so on and so forth, so the same thing needs to get translated to post-secondary education. These children should be doing well. We should already have capacity. We should already have an environment where the children are succeeding in life. That's not the case. And therefore, there is apparently some mistake. And I guess it's not about, so the contributions that come from indicators, the contributions that come from benchmarks that are set outside. I would say you need to understand that the outcomes are absolutely essential and therefore work to bring the change. The entire world is available to you at your doorstep.
Great.
So,
Great, absolutely. Lot to learn. Anything and everything is available. What is relevant to us should matter. Raviji.
Yeah. I think I'll take up the gentleman very straight away as what are those parameters, what should be immediately looked into that. NEP has very clearly, given us a direction, but all you need to go for a quality improvement in the schools. And even to a certain extent, they have even given the percentage also how much you have to look in for. For example, you need to focus on your quality aspect, 25% of your bandwidth. You must see that the scholastic activities. 15% they are given for post-scholastic activities. 10% for the infrastructure, 10% for the human resources, and 10% for inclusive practices, whatever you are doing in the school, and 10% for the management and practice, 10% for the leadership, and 10% for the beneficiary satisfaction. So it's very nice, it's available. Well, if our teacher and the QCI and with the NABARD, it has got a wonderful, checklist. If you today morning, ma'am was just go through the checklist, you will understand that exactly what you are supposed to do that. If you and your team, especially the leadership of the school, either correspondent or the principal, over the great responsibility in bringing up the school. He should be a visionary, work on that. 100% you will be in the process of progress. And I am speaking out of my experience. Because of that, one answering to that 256 question, by 2007, that our 𝗤𝗂𝗽𝗂𝗃 got the best school award, and I was given the best principal award there. It's all because I became conscious of those questions. Consciousness, that's all. Only thing which I want to
Thank
tell.
you.
Thank you.
Puducherry, would you like to? We will have one session for question answer. Just have 5 more minutes. Just wait for 5 more minutes. Yes, wait. Yeah. Would you like to say something now?
No, with regard to this, sir.
Yes, of course.
Yes, actually, I was to add that time itself, sir. Actually, nowadays, the awareness fact for children, for example, we miss talking about them actually. The children, they are ready for reciprocating whatever we do. Gone is the time when we had little difficulty. Now children, they through either social media or other sources, they are very good today. The task of the teachers become very easy when we deal with the children. And at the same time, I have to add that parents, their expectations, their rising expectations, the way they want the dream about the children being fulfilled, that becomes a big challenge for the schools. When we want to do everything to them, the basic issue we find is that the enlightenment for the parents has to be focused on little through EPSI, I feel.
Okay, thanks. Colonel sir, would you like to say? And then Sheila-ji.
Right.
Yeah.
We were just talking about the various activities. Like ma'am said, if you just add one more activity, it's not a question of how many activities you are doing, but how well are we doing each and every activity. And the capacity of school varies. When you start doing it over a period, you improve in quality of conducting those activities. One of the things, I think most of the principals are here, we are very shy of sending children out on tours and travels or on outings overnight. I started this about 20 years back. I'll give you an example. Being from the army, I felt that the children should be given a chance to go out and stay in tents overnight for one day. We did it initially for class 5, then we've come down to 4th also. And when we asked the children, they were very excited. However, a few parents said, no, we wouldn't like to sell our child. So I said, all right, any parent saying no will call me up. A mother called up, my daughter, she may fall sick and she's the only child, I don't want to send her. I said, how many times has she fallen sick so far last year? She's about 2-3 times. So I said, she'll fall sick once more. She wants to go, let her go. And she had no answer, she allowed. And thereafter, for last 20 years, class 4 and 5, they go and spend a night out. Last 2 years was COVID years. Children were stuck in the houses, they were frustrated. We normally used to send out children to Manali, Uttarakhand, and so on. We used to send just about 1 bus load. This time when I asked the volunteers who wanted to go, we had to put 2 buses for the Manali trip for trekking, for skiing, and river rafting, and so on. The point is, these events you can only add when you have a good competent staff, good experience, and you are conducting these activities well. They are spread over numerous activities. These are just a few that I'm talking about. But when you do it, this gives in that satisfaction and experiences that ma'am was talking about. The children get it, and when they come back, they're rejuvenated, and they perform also well. So that is what I meant, sir.
Great. Learning outside the classroom, says ma'am.
I know after such panel discussions, everybody asks, all of you have spoken, what do we do? So what I would like to tell you is here at this point, I've been associated with the NABET framework for the past 13 years. And as the head of a school also, what I realized was I had great dreams, but I didn't know how to do it. And this framework gave the path. The more and more we implement the standard in the true spirit of the standard, we are able to see improvement in our schools. Quality, as Mr. Ravi said, is not an accident. It is a focused journey which we take up. with sustained efforts leading to continual improvement. The only point of concern for me is continual improvement can be two ways. One, numbers, where I say, I did this, I've done 4 more. The other way of continual improvement is where we check whether the objective of why we are doing a particular activity is really getting achieved. And nothing is 100%. All of us in schools have this big problem. For us, everything has to be 100%. This is a continuous journey. That's why it's called a quality journey. It happens gradually. And each of us can take it at our own pace. And one skill for quality which is taught through the standard is, can I check myself? It builds the courage to say, I'm wrong here. And only when we acknowledge that, it's a mirror. It mirrors our own practices. The more and more we are able to say, I'm not okay over here, that's when improvement starts. So more than parameters, more than benchmarks, I think it is the attitude of wanting to do better than what I did last time, not just in numbers, but in the true spirit of the word education, is where we will be able to make a difference to our schools. That's my
Thanks. I think it's wonderful. It's a continuous journey, continuous improvement, continuous self-assessment. And that's where the answer lies. Now we have, we'll take few questions from the house to the panelists. If anyone, maybe you can raise your hand. Ma'am, yes. Yes. And please, you can address it to any one of them specifically also if you wish to.
Good morning. I'd like to address it to all of you. Regarding this national, international practices, abroad I have worked for more than 2 decades. Every year, there'll be a quality check done of schools. And it's a continuous mandatory process. Now, why is it like in India, we have to apply for an accreditation to a government organization? And, it has to be based on our willingness to accredit, and it's not mandatory. Okay. In which case, all 15 lakh schools would be accredited, and they will have a list of quality mandates and parameters under which they will be operating. So we are not giving them that as a mandate. Why is it so?
Yeah. Would you like to answer? Yes, please.
See, the answer is yes and no already. We do have frameworks, and the accreditation boards are the affiliation boards. So have set up, several references for schools to take it on themselves. However, in the absence of it, because the will to sustain an effort to ensure that there is progress within, when it is not there, that's when we understand that the capacity factors do not go up and the schools are struggling for the want of a level or standard of particular quality. We do have these verification visits by the International Baccalaureate or the Cambridge board, but we also have references with the national boards. How well are we practicing it? So again, I'm questioning that, hey, let us implode. Let us understand that we are accountable and we need to take ownership as school leaders. Yes, it's lovely that somebody kicks our back and tells us, hey, these are the parameters you need to check, and then keep on with it. So when it's not done, we need to look for bodies such as NABET, I would say, to tell us, look at these parameters. So make sure that it's like your inner compass or clock. When it fails, say, there's this ashariri bata raha hai aapko kya karna hai bas.
Great, thank you. Any other question? Any other question? Please, yes, please. There. I think that question gets deflected to Mr. Manish or Mr. Yeah, fine. Oh, no. Manish is volunteer. So, CEO.
ISO is primarily a quality management system. And when we talk of 21001, it is dedicated for educational management systems, for structured institutions who formally award a certificate, diploma, or degree after X number of years or time you spent in an institution. The primary focus of this is on management systems and documentation, as any other ISO technique or system pertains to. When we talk of NABET accreditation, it is with more width, more depth. Primarily, it is based on all kind of pillars which are requisite for the academic performance, academic systems, academic processes. When we talk of accreditation prima facie, it has three parts. One is input part, second is process part, third is outcome part. Previously, when this accreditation or quality benchmarking started as a practice, the focus was on input. Then slowly focus shifted on the process, and with the passage of time, now we are trying to lay focus on the outcome. When we talk of NABET accreditation, we are trying to have an optimal balance of all these three: input, process, and outcome-based approach, with requisite weightages given to each and every parameter, whether it is input based, whether it is process based, or whether it is outcome based. So we are able to measure the right pulse of the quality, rightly quantify the quality in a more objective manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question, please? From this side, any other question?
Sir,
Yes, please.
could
Yes,
you
please.
please suggest me few international practices that can be combined with our national level assessments?
I think.
See, yes. What do you assess the child for? So this is the question. What is the overall embedded nature of assessment? What does the assessment seek to achieve? So these are the questions that most assessments which are well modeled on good practices ask. So if you ask this question to yourself, so you will find the right answers. So if it measures a particular journey that the child takes, so you will have to set opportunities for the child which need not be measured by pen on paper test. So you need to ask these questions. What does the assessment seek to achieve at the end of the day? If you have answered that question, you don't have to be worried about international benchmarks and national benchmarks. You would have been addressing the questions which is absolutely relevant to the child's journey to understand and make his own life better, her own life better.
Thank you. Yes, please, Colonel sir.
And ma'am, let's not worry about the international standards. Our standards are much, much higher in most cases. There's no doubt about it. There is no doubt, yes. You can clap for yourself. During the pandemic, most of the schools in India, within 2 to 3 days, started the online. Once I was attending a meeting with about 36 countries online, and I found that the other countries were far, far behind than us. We had moved forward and they were still there. We were future ready, they were not.
Great.
Yes, sir.
Any other question? Yes, please.
Pranam, sir, ma'am. It's just a compliment to the points that are being shared here. I know His Majesty Sultan Qaboos bin Said. He is no more, but he was proud of one school that was accredited by ADVANCED on Commission on International Trans-Regional Accreditation Board has given the international accreditation. So he was proud of his school because it was the only school that was accredited by ADVANCED within the period of the minimum period granted for accreditation, that is 7 years from the date of registration and on the day when the grant of accreditation was announced by the visiting team. The team comprises of 7 members. No one belongs to the same country and led by a person from UK. And they take 1 day for each aspect for the quality governance assurance related to stakeholders, 1 day with the academicians, one day with the administrative staff, and one day they devote for the students. Later on, they go for document verification, and then exit council when they declare about the status of the accreditation grant. And the day came for the grant of accreditation. The UK-led team has announced, the leader said, we grant the accreditation to your school for one good reason that we have never come across. The reason is when we had to discuss with the students about the function and position of the institution and the aspects that are being governed for assuring the promotion of standards of the students, one child said, sir, we have a say in the school. I have a say in the school. So CBSE also says, leave no child behind. So this is one good standard that internationally accredited, accepted, and the grant of accreditation should be of paramount importance if the school gives supreme relevance to this particular point. Thank you.
Thank you. So with this, we come near the end of the session. Very interesting points have been made. We need to look at education as a journey. There could be no standards. Set your own goals, set your own parameters, set your own objectives, change your attitude towards what you think is good and how you can achieve it. And as Colonel Sahab says, we need all-round development. Education cannot be inside the classroom alone. Thank you. Thank you very much, each one of you. Wonderful points you have made. And audience, I must thank you. You participated and you did ask some pointed questions, and I think you got some interesting answers. I think we look forward to the next journey in this quality mission, set our own standards for ourselves and share it with everyone, and we move forward. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, P.R. Mehta, sir, and all the eminent speakers. Along with that, I would now like to invite Dr. G. Vishwanathan, sir, to please give mementos and present mementos to the chair and to the speakers. First, I would like, sir, to please present memento to Mr. P.R. Mehta, sir, who has chaired this session. Please, a big round of applause, please. Next to Dr. Bhavani Shankar, sir, who is chairperson, Chennai Sahodaya School Complex. To Dr. P. Ravi, sir, who is former Dean and NIOS and Institutional Outreach DAV Group of Schools. Dr. Sheila Raghavan, Advisor, Darwin Public School, Chennai. Colonel Kanwar Pratap Singh, sir, who is Chairman, Colonel Central Academy, CCA School, Gurugram. Last but not the least, Dr. B. Purushothaman, who is Chairman and Senior Principal, Everwin Group of Schools. Now I would request all the speakers, Chair and Vishwanathan, sir, along with Dr. Manish Jindal and Madhu ma'am for a group photo, please. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Now we would like to take the session ahead and would like to continue with our plenary session 2, which is on expectations